the keys are to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from offseason to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time, and it is time to talk about who is the biggest threat for the 49ers in the NFC West. Alex is shaking his head.
The 49ers are the biggest threat to the 49ers in the NFC West.
I like it.
I went there.
Yeah, you did.
I mean, if it was 2020, that would be the case.
Yeah.
Gosh darn injury bug. But it's a new year.
So it's this whole football coach thing. Nobody can beat us. We beat ourselves.
Just look at the man in the mirror.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about that man in the mirror. Look.
I'm looking at the
man in the mirror. All right, it's good harmonizing. We're warmed up. We're all ready to go. Look, right, this is the question now. Because at the end of the day, division rivals, all that fun stuff. In your little conference there, in your little division here in the NFC, this is one of the best divisions in all of football. What the NFC West brings to the table, what all of these teams bring to the table, is unlike a lot of these other divisions and conferences. All of these teams, I mean, the NFC West right now really is an arms race.
Yeah.
You have teams that are just stacking up offensive potential. You have teams that are just adding weapons for their quarterbacks to try and, blow the roof off and change the offensive landscape and the firepower. And then you have the 49ers who are doing a little bit of everything as well. So this is going to be a wonderful conversation. You don't want to miss any of it, so make sure you hit that like button right now. Share it with the rest of the faithful, and let's get into this thing. Because there's a lot of different options. There's a lot of ways to view it. But Ant, where do you sit on this? Who's the biggest threat?
I think this one kind of jumps out at me, and it might not make sense because the 49ers have had a lot of success against this team and against this coach, but I'm going with the Los Angeles Rams. I think the addition of Matthew Stafford puts them in a position to be very successful in the West. I don't know how successful they'll still be against the 49ers because the 49ers have the gold rush, and they can get after Stafford. Stafford is still not a mobile quarterback. He can move, but not to the level that some of the other quarterbacks in this division can, like Kyler Murray, and Russell Wilson. So he doesn't scare me in that aspect, but what he does scare me is that the Rams have always, in my opinion, been a quarterback away from being a very good football team in this league. They made it all the way to the Super Bowl with the Gaff man himself. I knew they wouldn't win because they had Jared Goff, but I don't think they knew that until now. But now they went ahead and they made the move and they got Stafford. And all those times that Goff used to gaff and screw up and cost his team wins and playoff victories, now those things are going to be a little bit different because Stafford's going to be in position to make plays. And he has a big arm. He can get the ball down the field. They have legitimate receivers on the outside. They still have a very good pass rush. So it is something that we have to take heed and be concerned about. But once again, Kyle Shanahan usually owns assistant coaches that he's coached with in the past, or at least people that have helped him in the past. So I think he does own the Rams, and I think the Rams are going to struggle a little bit with this vertical run game. But I think that the Rams are probably the team I think about the most when I think about the biggest problem for the 49ers in the NFC West.
It's very Bill Belichickian of Kyle Shanahan to own his assistant coaches, right? It's very Bill Belichickian, and it's almost as if he's like taking something from the man. I don't know. It's almost like he like studies him and like wants to emulate some of the things he does. I mean, who wouldn't want to do that, right? But look here, at the end of the day, there's a lot of potential teams. You've seen the moves that the Cardinals have made.
Yeah.
Stockpiling the wide receiver room, stockpiling at the pass rush, bringing in and adding in J.J. Watt, going out and drafting a guy like Zaven Collins to man the middle of their defense and their linebacking core. That concerns me. That's a little spooky over there. Their defense is improving slightly and getting a little bit better. They've obviously added weapons to an offense that was already pretty gosh darn good. And then you have the Seattle Seahawks, who have decided to trade away all the draft capital for Jamal Adams and add themselves a safety who's a defensive end, and then do weird things in the draft and not have a draft pick for the first 2 rounds and just kind of sit there and idly twiddling their thumbs. But they're still the Seahawks, right? They're still going to do good things on offense. Russ is still going to cook because that's what Russ does, hopefully less than he ever has before. And then you have the Rams, who have gone out and made the big move and brought themselves in a quarterback and then shocked everybody by going wide receiver early in the draft and adding more weapons to that offense. It's very obvious that the rest of the teams in the NFC West have an idea in mind, and that is to bolster their offense add more weapons, make their offense even harder to cover than it already is. And a few teams have added some stuff and done some stuff defensively. But the team that scares me the most right now is the Rams. And it's for the reason you said with Jared Goff being gone and Matthew Stafford now being in. I still don't think Matthew Stafford is a world beater by any means whatsoever. But I have less concerns about Matthew Stafford's ability to read defenses, make the type of throws that Jared Goff couldn't make. I mean, there's one thing we know about Matthew Stafford is he's got a cannon.
Yeah.
The dude's got a rocket for an arm. So he's going to be able to fit balls in tight windows in space, which means your secondary has to be either really, really great or you have to have an elite pass rush. Thank God the 49ers have an elite pass rush, because that's going to put more pressure on a guy like Matthew Stafford, who isn't the most mobile guy in the world. He was a little bit when he was younger, early on in his career, was able to break sacks, get out of the pocket a little bit more. He's taken a little bit of a beating, had some injuries, so he's less of that now than he was in the past. I think that bodes well for San Francisco. But I think the Rams did the one thing they needed to do, which was change the quarterback room.
Mm-hmm.
Get a guy in there who can execute the offense, who can read defense a little bit better, and make the type of throws that Sean McVay wants him to make. The Niners also did the same thing, though, and addressed the quarterback room. I think these teams are a little bit closer than 49ers fans would like to admit, right? I think the Rams have an edge up in terms of just from last season where they were. But this is a team that snuck into the playoffs last year and was able to get some things done. The Niners are going to have a little bit of an uphill climb early in the season because they're going to have to now prove it after a disappointing 2020 season. But there is one thing that bodes well in the 49ers' favor, and that is the Rams and the Cardinals, for the most part, under Kyle Shanahan, they have dominated those matchups. Pete Carroll, it's been hit and miss with that, but I think the Seahawks are this is probably one of the worst Seahawks teams they've put together in recent memory, in terms of top to bottom talent and depth. If the Seahawks deal with any sort of injuries whatsoever, they're going to be a team that's scrambling to try and make it. The Arizona Cardinals is really just going to come down to, is J.J. Watt the guy we think he is? Can Zaven Collins stay on the field and stay out of trouble and not do stupid stuff while he's driving? Right? And then is their wide receiver room as talented as we think it is? Because right now it looks really, really good. But I think the team that's got the most pieces put together is the Rams. Offense, it's there. You added the quarterback. The only concern is potentially the run game and the O-line, right, at the tackle spots. And then defensively, this was one of the best defenses in the league last year. I know they lost their D coordinator, but all the pieces are still in play for them to have a lot of success.
I think when you look at the teams in the NFC West too, there's parallels, right?
Mm-hmm.
None of them have good offensive lines besides the 49ers.
Correct.
They have average offensive lines. The 49ers are very good. They have good defensive lines, but not elite. Besides, the Rams have Donald, and that's pretty much it. I know you said J.J. Watt, and they got Chandler Jones up there in Arizona. Seattle brought in some guys. They're all whatever. But there are parallels because the secondaries aren't very good. I mean, even I think you look at the 49ers, and besides Jason Verrett, the other corner spot's a little bit of a question. The Rams, you have Jalen Ramsey. There's questions. Arizona, all kinds of questions. Seattle, all kinds of questions because I don't know if Ahkello Witherspoon is going to be able to shut down anyone in Arizona.
They're banking on it.
Yeah.
They're banking on it.
But, I mean, you've seen a concerted effort in the draft to go after receivers. Every single NFC West team went after receivers except for the 49ers. The 49ers changed it up because the 49ers saw the direction the league was going, or the West was going, and they're all going to be scoring all over each other. The 49ers are going to limit the amount of time that people get the ball. They're going to run the ball down people's throats. They're going to take advantage. They're going to play great defense. The 49ers are the outlier. Anytime you're the outlier, you have an opportunity to be the most successful team in the league. That was one of the things that happened when Harbaugh got there. Harbaugh did things different than everyone else, and that's why at first it took the NFC West time to adjust. They eventually did adjust. But what we're finding now is that the NFC West adjusted to what Kyle Shanahan was doing before, and Kyle Shanahan just flipped the script again and is now going the vertical run game.
Yep, they tried to get speed, quickness, power, and things like that to try and shut down the edge, right? You go out and get a guy like Jamal Adams because you can stick him on the outside, rush him from the edge, you can set the edge a little bit more. He's more of a box-type safety. As you call him, a defensive end. He's not really a safety.
That's what he is.
So they make these moves, and now you're going to take all of these moves and all of these things you've been prepping for the last few years, and yeah, they're still there, but it's not the base anymore. It's not the priority. We can do it in a variety of different ways. And so now these teams who have made these moves and have prepped to do all of these things and stop the horizontal offense, now you got to worry about the vertical offense.
Yeah, it's all about that vertical run game. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And then now they have to worry about Kyle being able to run the ball with Trey Lance. That is what's coming. A dynamic quarterback in that system was always, I guess, the thing that prevented the 49ers from just being elite compared to everyone else in the division. And then they also went out and what was their key? They were going out and getting explosive wide receivers. Well, guess what? If you have Jason Verrett and Emmanuel Mosley out there, explosive wide receivers these guys can run with. It's not Richard Sherman. That would have made sense before. So I guess the blueprint for stopping the 49ers is different now because of the way the 49ers address the draft. And I think it puts everyone on notice that once again, they're going to have to adjust. And that's going to be a little bit scary for everyone else. And that's why I think it's the Rams, only because of, kind of the way that they're built. But still, you have too many weapons and too many options. Jalen Ramsey cannot stop all these guys. Okay, you want to put him on Brandon Ayuk? That's fine. Deebo Samuel, Jalen Hurd, and George Kittle are about to eat your lunch and enjoy every minute of it. Oh, you're going to play against Arizona? Okay, so Budda Baker's going to help slow down George Kittle. You have no one on the outside. Peterson's gone. You're in a lot of trouble. These matchup issues are, and nobody even come at me with the Ahkello Witherspoon thing. That fool is about to get eaten by Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. They're going to shake him. They're going to work him because they're going to get in his head. And yes, he might think he's the best cornerback in football, but until Deebo Samuel comes and punches you in the mouth and you're on the other team, then you realize you're really not.
Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting year because I think the Rams are the closest to modeling what the Niners are right now.
Yeah.
They got the second best pass rush, I would say, in all of football, in the NFC West.
NFC West.
Anyway, outside of Verrett, I would say that probably Jalen Ramsey, a lot of people would slot ahead of Verrett, and that's
so.
Totally fine. But they're the only other team that has that elite one guy on one side of the field that can lock down one other than San Francisco. They're the only team that kind of emulates anything close to what San Francisco can do defensively. The difference is, though, secondary, I'd say for the 49ers overall is better. Linebacking core, significantly better than anything the Rams have ever put out there. And when you start comparing O-lines, there is a vastly big, huge, gigantic drop-off to what the Rams O-line does and what the 49ers O-line does.
Yes, there is. And they drafted Cam Akers last year, and Cam Akers struggles running on the inside. I know. I watched him play at Florida State, and I loved him. I actually love Cam Akers. He's a dynamite fit in the outside zone game. Catching the ball in the backfield and doing all that. But he struggles running in the middle. So when he's out there, you know what to expect. You can play it accordingly, and you can attack it. And then when they have the other running backs in, you know you can get the inside zone.
And they really don't have an inside zone running presence there in that backfield. They're
not good enough.
They were hoping Cam Akers was going to be that could develop into that guy, and he's just not. He's not that guy.
Well, he's not Todd Gurley for sure.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So, I mean, it does...
Well, Todd Gurley's not even Todd Gurley.
Well, no. And it gives you an idea of what they're going to do. And Arizona, I'm not scared of Cliff Kingsbury. There's nothing about Cliff Kingsbury and his offense that scares me. It's like, even last year, I was like, oh, they had moments where they look good. And it's like, then they had moments they look like Texas Tech. Yep. And that's just the way it is with them. And they're still going all in on 4 wide receivers at all times. And they didn't get better at the running back position. James Connors, in my opinion, is not better, than the guys they had last year. So to me, it didn't make sense. I think Seattle's taken a big step back. They have guys, but I just don't see it. I don't think Russ is always dangerous because he can cook, but I think they've taken a step back. Their offensive line is just never that great, and the 49ers D line is great.
Yeah, it's never been that great, and I think it might be the worst it's ever been.
Yeah,
which is scary thought. Let us know what you think down below. Did we hit the nail on the head on this? Right, the Rams are the biggest threat to the 49ers in the NFC West. Are you going to be a total homer? There's no threat to the 49ers. The 49ers are the biggest threat to the 49ers. And just like you said, it's all about the man in the mirror. It's all about that. We want to hear from you. Let us know down below. And while you're down there, don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Smash that notification bell. That way you get notified every time we go live, every time we post, which is daily at 11 a.m. and live streams Friday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. And don't forget to scroll down to that description. Check out the merch store. Go cop yourself some sweet 49ers Cutback merch. You can see it on Ant right now.
Yep.
It looks fly. It looks clean. It looks incredible. You want to wear that around. You want to show it off to your friends. Be a part of the day one community. Get the day one merch drops right now because they won't be there forever necessarily. Some of that stuff will go and it'll get replaced with new stuff. You don't want to miss out on any of this. You want to be an OG. You want to be an OG 49ers Cutback crew member. So go get that stuff today.
Yeah, and let us know who you think the biggest threat is. I think that we're going to have a lot of, all over the place. It's going to be all over the spectrum as far as what people believe. It could be any one of these 3 teams. I guess it's all through the prism that you're looking at. But tell us not just who, but why. And that way we can have a nice conversation because it's important, it's fun. And I just want to know what people are thinking, how this NFC West stacks up against our 49ers.
Agreed. 100% agreed. Can't wait to hear from you. Can't wait to have more of these types of discussions. But until next time, 49ers fans, you stay safe.
And remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.